Hello again, everyone. It is still April the 20th, 2021, or the 30th in Nissan 5781. I am still at my new favorite coffee place. I have actually several now. I don't really know which one to pick out because we have a real one favorite. But it's called the Ugly Mug Cafe in Hendersonville, North Carolina. It's a beautiful sunny day here in the mountains, and I just wanted to share a few things. They've got these different signs up in here, and it's just some of the signs that I found that were very interesting and encouraging. It says, "You will." Let's see, I'm trying to read from the pictures on my phone. "You will keep in perfect peace him whose mind is steadfast, because he trusts in you." And we've seen like these songs everywhere. It says, "Live, laugh, and love," and that's all they ever say. But this one says, "Live for." Let's see. "Live like every moment is a treasured gift from God. Laugh till the sound of it fills the heavens with joy. Love without reason or rhyme, but because you are loved." Oh, and I really love this one. The difference. And the author is unknown. "I got up early one morning and rushed right into the day. I had so much to accomplish that I didn't have time to pray. Problems just tumbled about me, and heavier came each task. Why doesn't God help me? I wondered. He answered, You didn't ask. I wanted to see joy and beauty, but the day toiled on, gray and bleak. I wondered why God didn't show me. He said, But you didn't seek. I tried to come into God's presence. I used all my keys of the lock. God gently and lovingly chided, My child, you didn't knock. I woke up early this morning and paused before entering the day. I had so much to accomplish that I had to take time to pray." And this is another good one. "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows." And that is actually a verse from James 1:17. And since I can't see who all is viewing my videos, where you're from, there might be a way of doing that, but if there is, I am not able to find it. So what I did is I went into my podcast account and pulled up the places that are listed there, and so I don't know who all from the podcast is listening to watching these videos, but I'm going to call out everyone. Maybe it is everyone in here, and then again maybe it's only a few, and then again maybe none. But I am thankful no matter whether you're listening to my podcast or watching the videos on my website. However you're getting the information, I am thankful for you for providing it. So, and I wrote these down in the order that they're listed on the podcast, not in any specific order. So, and it'll give like a city and then a state, and then it'll go down a few more, and then it'll give another city and of a previous state. So, just because you might live in, let's say, in Alabama, and I call out a city in Alabama, don't think, oh my goodness, they're not, I've been listening, I'm watching, and I'm not hearing me. Then my location, I haven't gotten to that one yet, so just keep listening and you'll hear it call out. So I'm seeing there's Phoenix, Arizona, and then United Kingdom is Jarrow, South Tyneside, And then going back into the United States is Atlanta, Georgia, Forsyth, Missouri, Martinsville, Virginia, Wichita, Kansas, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and forgive me if I mispronounce any of these, Soldotna, Alaska, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, Liberty, Missouri, Evansville, Indiana, Collierville, Tennessee, East Northport, New York, and in France, and please forgive me again if I mispronounce it, Clichy, Clichy, Ile-de-France, it's ILE-DE- France. And then back in the United States, O'Fallon, Illinois, Wooster, Ohio, Laurinburg, North Carolina, The Villages, Florida, Germany, Lilienthal, Lower Saxony. And then back in the United States, Overland, Missouri, West Melbourne, Florida, Harbor Valley, Virginia, Charlotte, North Carolina, Waynesville, North Carolina, Manteca, California, Norfolk, Virginia, Attleboro, Massachusetts, Kernersville, North Carolina, Hesperia, California, Maywood, Illinois, Huntington, West Virginia, Barberton, Ohio, Glendora, California, Edinburgh, Virginia, and again, please forgive me if I mispronounce this, Hamtramck, Michigan. That's Hamtramck. So I want to thank each and every one of you. And I am not telling you all of this about how much I'm doing, or I'm not trying to brag. It's just that I'm trying. Well, first of all, mentioning these names, I'm just trying to let you know that I'm thankful for this. But also, I don't want you to give up when God tells you to do something and you're not seeing any immediate results. Don't give up on that, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not doing this right, or I'm doing this, maybe I didn't do it, and you just give up what He's told you to do. Sometimes you'll get immediate results, sometimes you don't, sometimes it takes a little while, but He will bring the results to you, so just keep going with it. So I hope that gives you encouragement. Anything that I tell you that about me that may sound like I'm bragging, I'm not bragging on God, but not on me. It's just to give you encouragement to not to ever give up on things. So this video, we are going to start in chapter 10 of the book of Numbers, and in verse 1. Adonai said to Moshe, "Make 2 trumpets, make them of hammered silver. Use them for summoning the community and for sounding the call to break camp and move on. When they are sounded, the entire community is to assemble before you at the entrance to the tent of meeting. If only one is sounded, then just the leaders, the heads of the clans of Israel, are to assemble before you. When you sound an alarm, the camps to the east will commence traveling. When you sound a second alarm, the camps to the south will set out. They will sound alarms to announce when to travel. However, when the community is to be assembled, you're to sound, but don't sound an alarm. It will be the sons of Aharon, the Kohanim, who are to sound the trumpets. This will be a permanent regulation for you through all your generations." And just a little side note, the sound of a trumpet and the sound of a shofar are 2 completely different sounds. At my synagogue, we blow the shofar every Saturday at the beginning of our service, and it's like a deeper sound than a trumpet. A trumpet has more of like a shrill sound. When you compare the two, it's like a trumpet's more like a shrill sound, and the shofar is more like a deeper sound. And you can actually go on the internet and on YouTube and find shofar sounds, and believe it or not, there's actually an app of shofar sounds. So if you want to hear what that sounds like, and it's the shofar sound that we'll be hearing when Yeshua returns. Verse 9. When you go to war in your land against an adversary who is oppressing you, you are to sound an alarm with the trumpets. Then you will be remembered before Adonai your God, and you will be saved from your enemies. Also, on the days of rejoicing, as at your designated times, and on Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is the beginning of the month, so tomorrow will be Rosh Chodesh for the month of Iyar. Also on your days of, back to verse 10, also on your days of rejoicing at your designated times, and on Rosh Chodesh, you are to sound the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings. These will be your reminder before your God. I am Adonai, your God. On the 20th day of the second month of the second year, so this was the 20th day of the month of Iyar, the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle of the testimony, and the people of Israel moved out in stages from the Sinai desert. The cloud stopped in the Paran desert. So they set out on their first journey, in keeping with Adonai's order through Moshe. In the lead was the banner of the camp of the descendants of Yehuda, whose companies moved forward. Over his company was Bashan, the son of Amminadab. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Issachar was Nathanael, the son of Zuar. Over the company of the descendants of Zebulun was Eliab, the son of Helon. Then the tabernacle was taken down, and the descendants of Gershon and the descendants of Merari set out, carrying the tabernacle. Next, the banner of the camp of Reuben moved forward by companies. Over his company was Eliezer, the son of Shadur. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Shimon was Shlumiel, the son of Surashadai. Over the company of the descendants of Gad was Eliasaph, the son of Deuel. Then the descendants of Kohath set out, carrying the sanctuary, so that at the next camp the tabernacle could be set up before they arrived. The banner of the camp of the descendants of Ephraim moved forward by companies. Over his company was Elishama, the son of Ammihud. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Manasseh was Gamaliel, the son of Bedatsur. Over the company of the descendants of Benjamin was Avidan, the son of Kadani. The banner of the camp of the descendants of Dan, forming the rear guard for all the camps, moved forward by companies. Over his company was Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Asher was Pagiel, the son of Akram. Over the company of the descendants of Naphtali was Ahara, the son of Enan. This is how the people of Israel traveled by companies. Thus they moved forward. Moshe said to Hobab, the son of Reuel, the Midiani, Moshe's father-in-law, "So we are traveling to the place about which Adonai said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will treat you well, because Adonai has promised good things to Israel." So, it says that Hobab was the son of Reuel the Midianite, and we read earlier that Reuel only had daughters, and so this must be his son-in-law instead of his actual son like we would think, unless at some point after that he had did have some sons, but I kind of doubt it was like that. Verse 30, but he replied, I will not go. I would rather go back to my own country and my own kinsmen. Moshe continued, please don't leave us. because you know that we have to camp in the desert, and you can serve as our allies. If you do go with us, then whatever good Adonai does for us, we will do the same for you." So they set out from Adonai's mountain and traveled for 3 days. Ahead of them on this 3-day journey went the Ark of Adonai's covenant, searching for a new place to stop. The cloud of Adonai was over them during the day as they set out from the camp. When the ark moved forward, Moshe said, "Arise, Adonai, may your enemies be scattered. Let those who hate you flee before you." When it stopped, he said, "Return, Adonai, of the many, many thousands of Israel." Chapter 11. But the people began complaining about their hardships to Adonai. When Adonai heard it, his anger flared up, so that fire from Adonai broke out against them and consumed the outskirts of the camp. Then the people cried to Moshe. Moshe prayed to Adonai, and the fire abated. That place was called Tav'ira, burning, because Adonai's fire broke out against them. Next, the mixed crowd that was with them grew greedy for an easier life, while the people of Israel, for their part, also renewed their weeping and said, "If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we used to eat in Egypt. It cost us nothing. And the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, the garlic. But now we're withering away. We have nothing to look at but this manna." Isn't that just like us today? That, whenever we're in a hardship, we cry out to God to deliver us from it. And then whenever He does, and we get in another hardship, we kind of think back about, we forget the hardship that we went through before, and we look back to the good and say, "Oh, well, if you just left me there, But God will never forsake us. He will always provide for us. Verse 7. The manna, by the way, was like coriander seed and white like gum resin. The people would go around gathering it and would grind it up in mills or pound it to paste with mortar and pestle. Then they would cook it in pots and make it into loaves that tasted like cakes baked with olive oil. When the dew settled on the camp during the night, the manna came with it. Moshe heard the people crying, family after family, each person at the entrance to his tent. The anger of Adonai flared up violently, and Moshe too was displeased. Moshe asked Adonai, "Why are you treating your servant so badly? Why haven't I found favor in your sight so that you put the burden of this entire people on me? Did I conceive this people? Was I the father, so that you tell me, carry them in your arms like a nurse carrying a baby to the land you swore to their ancestors? Where am I going to get meat to give to this entire people? Because they keep bothering me with their crying and saying, 'Give us meat to eat.' I can't carry this entire people by myself alone. It's too much for me. If you are going to treat me this way, then just kill me outright. Please, if you have any mercy toward me, and don't let me go on being this miserable." Adonai said to Moshe, "Bring me 70 of the leaders of Israel, people you recognize as leaders of the people and officers of theirs. Bring them to the tent of meeting and have them stand there with you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the Spirit which rests on you and put it on them. Then they will carry the burden of the people along with you, so that you won't carry it yourself alone. Tell the people, consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you will eat meat, because you cried in the ears of Adonai. If only we had meat to eat. We had the good life in Egypt. All right, Adonai is going to give you meat, and you will eat it. You won't eat it just 1 day, or 2 days, or 5, or 10, or 20 days, but a whole month. until it comes out of your nose and you hate it, because you have rejected Adonai, who was here with you, and distressed him with your crying and asking, why did we ever leave Egypt? But Moshe said, here I am with 600,000 men on foot, and yet you say, I will give them meat to eat for a whole month. If whole flocks and herds were slaughtered for them, would it be enough? If all the fish in the sea were collected for them, would even that be enough? Adonai answered Moshe, has Adonai's arm grown short? Now you will see whether what I said will happen or not. And this kind of brings me back to what I was saying earlier about how not getting any views yet, and then all of a sudden that happens. I kept faith, even though it wasn't, I wasn't seeing anything. I just kept faith that, God will bring them. And I learned that from the very first website that I created. That was where I was doing research on the books of the Bible. Eventually it did crash and I had to redo it. But when it started off, there was nobody there for a while. It was like, I don't remember exactly how long, but about a month or so, I guess, that nobody was coming. And then slowly, it's like one person, a couple of people here, there, and then all of a sudden it just boomed, and I had like thousands of followers from all over the country. All over the world. And it wasn't, you couldn't just go and find my website and you still can't today, where you just type in we'll just say YouTube, for example. Of course, YouTube is not my site, but we'll just use it for example. So you type in YouTube, and you don't have to put in the www or the .com or anything. You just type in YouTube, and bam, it's there. Well, my website was www.youtube.com and I'm going to make some things up, buzzsprout.url.com or some weird something like that. So you had to type in this really long URL address just in order to find it. But he brought them there. So, and I know it was from God because there was because how else could anybody find it? And I didn't know exactly how to market it, and I still don't know a lot about that. So, and when I first started, I was like, God, am I doing something wrong? Why aren't people coming here? How do I get people to come here? And there it was. And so, and also a book that I had published was the same way. I wasn't seeing any results because my publisher kept saying that it wasn't selling. But then when they went out of business because of the crooked dealings, I found out that there were actually a lot of my books being sold. So you just, God wants you to do something. Wherever he sends you, whatever he does, he will make you prosperous. So just don't, and it may not always be money. It could be prosperous, and it could be prosperous in saving souls or whatever. But he will prosper the way. He will not let it go void. So just don't give up. Starting verse 24, Moshe went out and told the people what Adonai had said. Then he collected 70 of the leaders of the people and placed them all around the tent. Adonai came down in the cloud, spoke to him, took some of the spirit that was on him, and put it on the 70 leaders. When the spirit came to rest on them, they prophesied. Then, but not afterwards. There were 2 men who stayed in the camp, one named Eldad and the other Medad, and the Spirit came to rest on them. They were among those listed to go out to the tent, but they hadn't done so, and they prophesied in the camp. A young man ran and told Moshe, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Yehoshua the son of Nun, who from his youth had been Moshe's assistant, answered, My lord Moshe, stop them. But Moshe replied, Are you so zealous to protect me? I wish all of Adonai's people were prophets. I wish Adonai would put his spirit on all of them. Moshe and the leaders of Israel went back into the camp, and Adonai sent out a wind which brought quails from across the sea and let them fall near the camp, about a day's trip away on each side of the camp and all around it, covering the ground to a depth of 3 feet. The people stayed up all that day, all night, and all the next day, gathering the quails. The person gathering the least collected 10 heaps. Then they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. But while the meat was still in their mouth, before they had chewed it up, the anger of Adonai flared up against the people, and Adonai struck the people with a terrible plague. Therefore that place was named Kivrot HaTayava, Graves of Greed, because there they buried the people who were so greedy. From Kivrot HaTayava the people traveled to Hatzerat, and they stayed at Hatzerat. Chapter 12. Miriam and Aharon began criticizing Moshe on account of the Ethiopian woman he had married, for he had in fact married an Ethiopian woman. Now Midian is not in Ethiopia, and Ethiopia is also considered the land of the Cushites. So we know this isn't Zipporah. There is a story out there, though, that when he was younger and still living in the house of Pharaoh, that he had went to war with Ethiopia, and that he married the princess of Ethiopia. I have not found that anywhere yet in the actual Bible, but I have found it in different sources, so I'm assuming that is who they're talking about. Verse 2. They said, Is it true that Adonai has spoken only with Moshe? Hasn't he spoken with us too? Adonai heard them. Now this man Moshe was very humble, more so than anyone on earth. Suddenly Adonai told Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam, Come out, you 3, to the tent of meeting. The 3 of them went out. Adonai came down in a column of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent. He summoned Aharon and Miriam, and they both went forward. He said, Listen to what I say. When there is a prophet among you, I, Adonai, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak with him in a dream. But it isn't that way with my servant Moshe. He is the only one who is faithful in my entire household. With him I speak face to face and clearly, not in riddles. He sees the image of Adonai. So why weren't you afraid to criticize my servant Moshe? The anger of Adonai flared up against him, and he left. So I wonder if we are that humble, if God would actually appear to us like that today. Verse 10. But when the cloud was removed from above the tent, Miriam had Zarat as white as snow. Aharon looked at Miriam, and she was as white as snow. Aharon said to Moshe, Oh, my Lord, please don't punish us for this sin we committed so foolishly. Please don't let her be like a stillborn baby, with its body half eaten away when it comes out of its mother's womb. Moshe cried to Adonai, Oh God, I beg you, please heal her. Adonai answered Moshe, If her father had merely spit in her face, wouldn't she hide herself in shame for 7 days? So let her be shut out of the camp for 7 days, After that, she can be brought back in. Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not travel until she was brought back in. Afterwards, the people went on from Hatzerat and camped in the Paran Desert. So we can see here how dangerous it is to be jealous of someone else. God gives us all talents and gifts that He wants us to do. He has purpose for each of us. So just because somebody else is doing something that you would like to be doing, obviously you can't do it, because if you could, God would be wanting you to do that. He wants everybody, just do what He tells you to do. And I love to sing, but I can't sing good. And I used to be jealous of that, but now I see that my gifts are in other areas. I have prophetic dreams and visions. I'm still learning as to what I'm supposed to be doing about those. And I also, I'm a good writer. I understand English. What I mean by understand English is, I understand about punctuations, how to the proper grammar. I was taught all that in school. That came very easily to me. And so that's how God is wanting me to use that gift. He's wanting me to use that gift in getting out His Word. And this lady at my church, she's a wonderful church synagogue. I grew up in, using the word church. But now that I've turned to Judaism, it's actually synagogue, but I forget that word a lot, and I use church more often because it's just out of habit. But anyways, she has a beautiful voice singing, and he sends her to this Jewish community center. They teach her singing, and from my understanding, most of the people there don't believe in Yeshua. I've never been, so I don't really know a lot about it. I do hope to be able to get down there one day. But so she is witnessing to these people. So she doesn't have, I don't know if she has a gift of prophecy or not. If she does, she's never said anything to me about it. But she doesn't do any writings or anything like that. So, but she still has a way of witnessing, and but it's through her singing. So, just don't be jealous. Just be happy with what God gave you, because we're all working together to spread His Word and get people saved. So, chapter 13, verse 1. Adonai said to Moshe, "Send men on your behalf to reconnoiter the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the people of Israel. From each ancestral tribe send someone who is a leader in his tribe." Moshe dispatched them from the Paran Desert as Adonai had ordered. All of them were leading men among the people of Israel. Here are their names. From the tribe of Reuben, Shemuel the son of Sakkar. From the tribe of Shimon, Shaphat the son of Hori. From the tribe of Yehuda, Caleb the son of Jephunneh. From the tribe of Issachar, Yigal the son of Joseph. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea the son of Nun. From the tribe of Benjamin, Palti the son of Raphu. From the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel the son of Sodi. From the tribe of Joseph, that is, from the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi the son of Susi. From the tribe of Dan, Amiel the son of Gamali. From the tribe of Asher, Satur the son of Mikael. From the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi the son of Bafsi. And from the tribe of Gad, Keuel the son of Maki. These are the names of the men Moshe sent out to reconnoiter the land. Moshe gave to Hoshea the son of Nun the name Yehoshua. Moshe sent them to reconnoiter the land of Canaan, instructing them, "Go on up to the Negev and into the hills, and see what the land is like. Notice the people living there, whether they are strong or weak, few or many, and what kind of country they live in, whether it is good or bad, and what kind of cities they live in, open or fortified. See whether the land is fertile or unproductive, and whether there is wood in it or not. Finally, be bold enough to bring back some of the fruit of the land." When they left, it was the season of the first grapes to ripen. They went up and reconnoitered the land from the Zin's desert to Rehob, near the entrance to Hamat. They went up into the Negev and arrived at Hebron. Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the Anakim, lived there. Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. They came to the Eshcol Valley, and there they cut off a branch bearing one cluster of grapes, which they carried on a pole between two of them. They also took pomegranates and figs. Now think, if it's one cluster of grapes, they had to be carried on a pole. That must have been really big grapes. That place was called the Valley of Eshcol cluster. Let me read that again because I'm not sure. I stopped right there, so I want to make sure that I read the whole verse. Verse 23. They came to the Eshcol Valley, and there they cut off a branch bearing one cluster of grapes, which they carried on a pole between two of them. They also took pomegranates and figs. Verse 24. That place was called the Valley of Eshcol cluster, because of the cluster which the people of Israel cut down there. 40 days later, they returned from reconnoitering the land, and went to Moshe, Aharon, and the entire community of the people of Israel at Kadesh in the Paran desert, where they brought back word to them and to the entire community, and showed them the fruit of the land. What they told him was this: "We entered the land where you sent us, and indeed it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. However, the people living in the land are fierce, and the cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the Anakim there. Amalek lives in the area of the Negev. Hittite, the Yebusi, and the Amorite live in the hills, and the Canaani live by the sea and alongside the Jordan." Caleb silenced the people around Moshe and said, "We ought to go up immediately and take possession of it. There is no question that we can conquer it." But the men who had gone with him said, "We can't attack those people because they are stronger than we are." And they spread a negative report about the land they had reconnoitered to the people of Israel by saying, "The land we passed through in order to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants. All the people we saw there were giant. We saw the Nephilim, the descendants of Anak, who was from the Nephilim. To ourselves we looked like grasshoppers by comparison, and we looked that way to them too." Now, these people got really tall. We actually had one of our elders in a synagogue had actually preached yesterday about, I'm sorry, not yesterday, but Saturday, about giants. And they got, I think, like, if I remember correctly, like as tall as 35 feet was like the tallest that we currently know about. There is one that we're going to be reading about soon that he's all king of Bashan, and his bed was 13 and a half feet by 6 feet. So he was about 12 feet tall. And as the elder said yesterday, that that whenever the taller you are, the more muscle you need. So these were, really big, strong people. So they weren't like really tall and bony. like toothpicks. So, and I've heard some other people talking last week about the giants, so I feel like God was having them do this because of where I was going to be reading from this week. But that they were actually descendants of, or that they are descendants of the fallen angels, demons. And if you actually go back in chapter 6 of Genesis, verses 1 through 4, it says, "In time, when men began to multiply on earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were attractive, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose." So these sons of God were actually demons. They were the fallen ones. And I said, "My spirit will not live in human beings forever, for they too are flesh. Therefore their lifespan is to be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These were the ancient heroes, men of renown." So, even though their bodies got destroyed in the flood, their spirits did not. So they were able to come back and do this again. So, now chapter 14 of Numbers, verse 1. "At this, all the people of Israel cried out in dismay and wept all night long. Moreover, all the people of Israel began grumbling against Moshe and Aharon. The whole community told them, 'We wish we had died in the land of Egypt, or that we had died here in the desert. Why is Adonai bringing us to this land where we will die by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will be taken as booty. Wouldn't it be better for us to return to Egypt?' And they said to each other, 'Let's appoint a leader and return to Egypt.' Moshe and Aharon fell on their faces before the entire assembled community of the people of Israel. Yehoshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, from the detachment that had reconnoitered the land, tore their clothes and said to the whole community of Israel, 'The land we passed through in order to spy it out is an astoundingly good land. If Adonai is pleased with us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Just don't rebel against Adonai, and don't be afraid of the people living in the land. We'll eat them up. Their defense has been taken away from them, and Adonai is with us. Don't be afraid of them.' But just as the whole community were saying they should be stoned to death, the glory of Adonai appeared in the tent of meeting to all the people of Israel. Adonai said to Moshe, 'How much longer is this people going to treat me with contempt? How much longer will they not trust me, especially considering all the signs I have performed among them? I am going to strike them with sickness, destroy them, and make from you a nation greater and stronger than they are.' However, Moshe replied to Adonai, 'When the Egyptians hear about this, because it was from among them that you, by your strength, brought this people up, they will tell the people living in this land. They have heard that you, Adonai, are with this people, that you, Adonai, are seen face to face, that your cloud stands over them, that you go ahead of them in a column of cloud by day and a column of fire by night. If you kill off this people at a single stroke, then the nations that have heard of your reputation will say that the reason Adonai slaughtered this people in the desert is that he wasn't able to bring them into the land which he swore to give them. So now, please, let Adonai's power be as great as when you said, Adonai is slow to anger, rich in grace, forgiving offenses and crimes, yet not exonerating the guilty, but causing the negative effects of the parents' offenses to be experienced by their children and even by the third and fourth generations. Please forgive the offense of this people according to the greatness of your grace. just as you have borne with this people from Egypt until now. Adonai answered, I have forgiven as you have asked, but as sure as I live, and that the whole earth is filled with the glory of Adonai, none of the people who saw my glory and the signs I did in Egypt and in the desert, yet tested me these 10 times and did not listen to my voice, will see the land I swore to their ancestors. None of those who treated me with contempt will see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had a different spirit with him and has fully followed me, him I will bring into the land he entered, and it will belong to his descendants. Now, since the Amalekite and the Canaanite are living in the valley, tomorrow turn around and get yourselves into the desert along the way to the Sea of Suf. And I said to Moshe and Aharon, how long am I to put up with this evil community who keep grumbling about me? I have heard the complaints of the people of Israel, which they continue to raise against me. Tell them this, as surely as I live, Adonai swears, as surely as you have spoken in my ears, I will do this to you. Your carcasses will fall in the desert. Every single one of you who were included in the census over the age of 20, you who have complained against me, will certainly not enter the land about which I raised my hand to swear that I would have you live in it, except for Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Yehoshua, the son of Nun. But your little ones, who you said would be taken as booty, them I will bring in. They will know the land you have rejected. But you, your carcasses, will fall in the desert, and your children will wander about in the desert for 40 years, bearing the consequences of your prostitutions, until the desert eats up your carcasses. It will be a year for every day you spent reconnoitering the land, that you will bear the consequences of your offenses. 40 days, 40 years. Then you will know what it means to oppose me. I, Adonai, have spoken. I will certainly do this to this whole evil community who have assembled together against me. They will be destroyed in this desert and die there. The men whom Moshe had sent to reconnoiter the land, and who, when they returned, made the entire community complain against him by giving an unfavorable report about the land, those men who gave them unfavorable report about the land died by the plague in the presence of Adonai. Of the men who went to reconnoiter the land, only Yehoshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, remained alive. When Moshe told these things to all the people of Israel, the people felt great remorse. They arose early the next morning, came up to the top of the mountain, and said, Here we are, and we did sin, but now we'll go up to the place Adonai promised. Moshe answered, Why are you opposing what Adonai said? You won't succeed. Don't go up there, because Adonai isn't with you. If you do, your enemies will defeat you. The Malachim and the Canaanite are there ahead of you, and you will be struck down by the sword. The reason will be that you have turned away from following Adonai, so that Adonai won't be with you. But they were presumptuous and went on up toward the high parts of the hill country, even though the Ark of the Covenant of Adonai and Moshe stayed in the camp. So the Malachim and the Canaanite living in that hill country descended, struck them down, and beat them back all the way to Hormah. Chapter 15. Adonai said to Moshe, Tell the people of Israel, when you have come into the land where you are going to live, which I am giving to you, and want to make an offering by fire to Adonai, a burnt offering or sacrifice to fulfill a special vow, or to be a voluntary offering, or at your designated times to make a fragrant aroma for Adonai, then, whether it comes from the herd or from the flock, the person bringing the offering is to present Adonai with the grain offering consisting of 2 quarts of fine flour mixed with 1 quart of olive oil, and 1 quart of wine flour, and 1 quart of wine for the drink offering. This is what you are to prepare with the burnt offering, or for each lamb sacrifice. For a ram, prepare 1 gallon of fine flour mixed with 1 1/3 quarts of olive oil, while for the drink offering, you are to present 1 1/3 quarts of wine as a fragrant aroma for Adonai. When you prepare a bull as a burnt offering, as a sacrifice to fulfill a special vow, or as peace offerings for Adonai, there is to be presented with the bull a grain offering of 1 1/2 gallons of fine flour mixed with 2 quarts of olive oil. For the drink offering, present 2 quarts of wine for an offering made by fire, a fragrant aroma for Adonai. Do it this way for each bull, ram, male lamb, or kid. For as many animals as you prepare, do this for each one, regardless of how many animals there are. Every citizen is to do these things. In this way, when presenting an offering made by fire as a fragrant aroma for Adonai, if a foreigner stays with you, or whoever may be with you, through all your generations, and he wants to bring an offering made by fire as a fragrant aroma for Adonai, he is to do the same as you. For this community there will be the same law for you as for the foreigner living with you. This is a permanent regulation through all your generations. The foreigner is to be treated the same way before Adonai as yourselves. And just another side note, when the temple is rebuilt, there will be offerings again in the temple. That's what it says in the book of Revelations, and it talks about the abomination of desolation. That is talking about where there is the offerings will not be according to God's law. There's even a deeper explanation, but that I'm just glossing over it for right now. So you can go back, and that's another reason why this is in here. All these deep details are in here, so that whenever that happens, we can see that it's that is actually the Antichrist that's there doing these offerings, and to keep us from being deceived. Verse 16, the same Torah and standard of judgment will apply to both you and the foreigner living with you. Adonai said to Moshe, speak to the people of Israel. Tell them, when you enter the land where I am bringing you, and eat bread produced in the land, you are to set aside a portion as a gift for Adonai. Set aside from your first dough a cake as a gift. Set it aside as you would set aside a portion of the grain from the threshing floor. From your first dough, you will give Adonai a portion as a gift through all your generations. If by mistake you fail to observe all these mitzvot that Adonai has spoken to Moshe, yes, everything that Adonai has ordered you to do through Moshe, from the day Adonai gave the order and onward through all your generations, then, if it was done by mistake by the community and was not known to them, the whole community is to offer 1 young bull for a burnt offering as a fragrant aroma to Adonai, with its grain and drink offerings, in keeping with the rule, and 1 male goat as a sin offering. The Cohen is to make atonement for the whole community of the people of Israel, and they will be forgiven, because it was a mistake, and they have brought their offering, an offering made by fire to Adonai, and their sin offering before Adonai for their mistake. The whole community of the people of Israel will be forgiven. Likewise, the foreigner staying with them, because for all the people it was a mistake. If an individual sins by mistake, he is to offer a female goat in its first year as a sin offering. The Cohen will make atonement before Adonai for the person who makes a mistake by sinning inadvertently. He will make atonement for him, and he will be forgiven, no matter whether he is a citizen of Israel or a foreigner living with them. You are to have 1 law for whoever it is that does something wrong by mistake. But an individual who does something wrong intentionally, whether a citizen or a foreigner, is blaspheming Adonai. So now we know what blasphemy means. That person will be cut off from his people, because he has had contempt for the word of Adonai and has disobeyed his command. That person will be cut off completely. His offense will remain with him. So, where it tells what the blasphemy of Adonai means is chapter 15, verse 30. While the people of Israel were in the desert, they found a man gathering wood on Shabbat. Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Bashan, Aharon, and the whole congregation. They kept him in custody because it had not yet been decided what to do to him. Then Adonai said to Moshe, "This man must be put to death. The entire community is to stone him to death outside the camp." So the whole community brought him outside the camp and threw stones at him until he died, as Adonai had ordered Moshe. Adonai said to Moshe, "Speak to the people of Israel, instructing them to make, through all their generations, tzitzit on the corners of their garments, and to put with the tzitzit on each corner a blue thread. It is to be a tzitzit for you to look at, and thereby remember all of Adonai's mitzvot and obey them, so that you won't go around wherever your own heart and eyes lead you to prostitute yourselves. But it will help you remember and obey all my mitzvot and be holy for your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, in order to be your God. I am Adonai your God." Chapter 16. Now Korach the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kahat, the son of Levi, along with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Pelet, descendants of Reuben, took men and rebelled against Moshe. Siding with them were 250 men of Israel, leaders of the community, key members of the council, men of reputation. They assembled themselves against Moshe and Aharon and said to them, "You take too much on yourselves. After all, the entire community is holy, every one of them, and Adonai is among them. So why do you lift yourselves up above Adonai's assembly?" When Moshe heard this, he fell on his face. Then he said to Korach and his whole group, "In the morning Adonai will show who is and who is the holy person he will allow to approach him. Yes, he will bring whomever he chooses near to himself. Do this. Take censers, Korach and all your group, put fire in them and put incense in them before Adonai tomorrow. The one whom Adonai chooses will be the one who is holy. It is you, you sons of Levi, who are taking too much on yourselves." Then Moshe said to Korach, "Listen here, you sons of Levi, for is it for you a mere trifle that the God of Israel has separated you from the community of Israel to bring you close to himself, so that you can do the work in the tabernacle of Adonai and stand before the community serving them? He has brought you close and all your brothers, the sons of Levi, with you. Now you want the office of Cohen too. That's why you and your group have gathered together against Adonai. After all, what is Aharon that you complain against him?" Then Moshe sent to summon Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, but they replied, "We won't come up. Is it such a mere trifle, bringing us up from a land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the desert, that now you arrogate to yourself the role of dictator over us? You haven't at all brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey, and you haven't put us in possession of fields and vineyards. Do you think you can gouge out these men's eyes and blind them? We won't come up." Moshe was very angry and said to Adonai, let's start that verse again. Verse 15. Moshe was very angry and said to Adonai, "Don't accept their grain offering. I haven't taken one donkey from them. I've done nothing wrong to any of them." Moshe said to Korach, "You and your group, be there before Adonai tomorrow. You, they, and Aharon. Each of you take his fire pan and put incense in it. Every one of you. Bring before Adonai his fire pan, 250 fire pans. You two and Aharon, each one his fire pan. Each man took his fire pan and put fire in it, laid incense on it, and stood at the entrance to the tent of meeting with Moshe and Aharon. Korach assembled all the group who were against him at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Then the glory of Adonai appeared to the whole assembly. Adonai said to Moshe and Aharon, "Separate yourselves from this assembly. I'm going to destroy them right now." They fell on their faces and said, "Oh God, God of the spirits of all humankind, if one person sins, are you going to be angry with the entire assembly?" Adonai said to Moshe, "Tell the assembly to move away from the homes of Korach, Datan, and Abiram." Moshe got up and went to Datan and Abiram, and the leaders of Israel followed him. There he said to the assembly, "Leave the tents of these wicked men. Don't touch anything that belongs to them, or you may be swept away in all their sins." So they moved away from all around the area where Korach, Datan, and Abiram lived. Then Datan and Abiram came out and stood at the entrance to their tents with their wives, sons, and little ones. Moshe said, "Here is how you will know that Adonai has sent me to do all these things, and that I haven't done them out of my own ambition. If these men die a natural death like other people, only sharing the fate common to all humanity, then Adonai has not sent me. But if Adonai does something new, if the ground opens up and swallows them with everything they own, they go down alive to Sheol. Then you will understand that these men have had contempt for Adonai." The moment he finished speaking, the ground under them split apart. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households. All the people who had sided with Korach and everything they owned. But this is also their tents, which we'll find out later on. So they and everything they owned went down alive into Sheol. The earth closed over them, and their existence in the community ceased. All Israel around them fled at their shrieks, shouting, "The earth might swallow us too!" Then fire came out from Adonai and destroyed the 250 men who had offered the incense. So that is the end of this video. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and the notification bell so you will get updates on future videos. And have a blessed and wonderful day. Bye-bye.